My sister spread a rumor at school to humiliate me, so I exposed her in front of everyone. 10 years later, my mom wants me to invite her to my wedding, but she tried to ruin it with a letter to my husband. I, a 27-year-old woman, hosted my rehearsal dinner last night and will be getting married tomorrow. However, my mom is very upset about something that happened at the dinner. It ended with me kicking my sister out of the wedding after humiliating her. I want to know if I'm really the bad one in this situation, as my mom claims. Let me give you some background about my relationship with my sister. Jennifer is 2 years younger than me, and for some reason she's always hated me. Seriously, I've never given her a concrete reason to hate me so much, but she's always targeted me. This isn't recent. It's been this way since she was 15. Before that, we weren't close, but at least she wasn't constantly against me. My dad used to treat us equally and reprimanded her when she went out of her way to bother me, but my mom always had a soft spot for her. I guess it was because she was the youngest. Whenever we fought, my mom would tell me to let it go because I was the older one and supposed to be the more mature one. I thought my mom would have outgrown that habit, but I guess not. Jennifer and I continued fighting for years until I finally cut her off during my senior year of high school. I think she was a sophomore at the time and was quite popular in her grade. I don't know what got into her, but one day she decided she was going to spread a nasty rumor about me and ruin my reputation. I won't go into details because it was a long time ago, but in short, she framed me for stealing a bunch of things that had gone missing. Several girls from different grades had reported many thefts at the time, which we later found out were done by the new janitor the school had hired. Not me, obviously. Jennifer got it into her head to spread a rumor about me being a kleptomaniac and said I had likely gone off the rails and started stealing from people at school. She was pretty popular, so the rumor spread like wildfire. You know how cruel kids can be. This led to a lot of bullying and name-calling, and it was a terrible few weeks for me. I even started skipping school frequently because it was easier not to go than to face everyone. It got to a point where I just couldn't let it go, so I decided to find out exactly how the rumor started. After asking around for a few days, I got to the bottom of it. I was shocked to find out that my own sister was the one who started the rumor because it was so cruel. I could have handled it at home, but I decided to humiliate her publicly in the cafeteria. I thought it was fair because she had publicly humiliated me by spreading the rumor. It only made sense to confront her in public too. So I approached her and asked if she was the one spreading the rumor about me. She had the audacity to respond with, "Yeah, and what?" That was all I needed to start yelling at her. I began shouting in her face about the kinds of rumors I could have started about her if I were as pathetic as she was, and I wouldn't even have to lie because I could have just told the truth. I mentioned how she had been cheating on her ex-boyfriend with his own cousin just a year earlier, and the three of them decided to keep it a secret to avoid embarrassment. Then I mentioned how she used to flirt with our housekeeper's son, who was 3 years older than her, just for him to complain to our parents. The worst part was when I exposed her for not showering during school holidays. I'm pretty sure lots of people do that. But it's embarrassing to have something like that announced in the cafeteria in front of a bunch of teenagers. After shouting all her secrets in the cafeteria that day, she basically became the laughingstock of our high school. I can't even say I felt bad about it. She was the one who started the rumor about me first, and I just ended it. When we got home, we had a huge fight and said some pretty horrible things to each other. It almost turned physical, but thankfully, our parents intervened in time. I think that was the last day we spoke, because after that, we just started ignoring each other's existence, even while living in the same house. I didn't acknowledge her, and she treated me the same way. I was pretty happy to be free of her when I finally moved out for college. Even when I came back home for visits, I didn't talk to her. That's how 10 years went by without us speaking. A lot has changed. We both have our own lives now, and after graduating college, we made sure not to see each other anymore. We'd visit our parents separately and avoid running into each other. I'd always ask my mom if Jennifer was going to be home that weekend so I could plan around it. Even during holidays, I'd only visit after she'd left. It was a silent agreement between my parents, Jennifer, and me, and we respected it for a long time. But then 2 years ago, my dad passed away from an aneurysm in the middle of the night. He didn't take good care of his diet and smoked a lot. We were all together for his funeral, and after that, Jennifer and I decided to set our differences aside to be there for our mom. For the past 2 years, at least during the holidays, we've been visiting home together. It's been really awkward with just the three of us, but my mom tries to make it work. I was just grateful to have my fiancé Jacob with me for family dinners during the holidays to ease the tension. After my dad passed, I'd say Jennifer and I have tried not to hate each other as much as possible, or at least pretended to get along for our mom's sake. A couple of months ago, when I got engaged, my mom convinced me to invite Jennifer to the wedding. Initially, I was very against the idea, but Jacob said it might be nice to have her there since it had been 10 years since our last fight. Since we were starting a new journey together, maybe it was time to bury the hatchet. As cheesy and sentimental as that sounded, it partly worked. When we made the guest list, I decided to add my sister. I didn't invite her to any other events, not the engagement party or the bachelorette party, because those were just for close friends and family, but I thought it would be nice to have her at the wedding. When she received the invitation, she was kind enough to thank me and even said she didn't expect one but was grateful I was willing to leave everything in the past. Because of her behavior, I had no reason to suspect she might be up to something. Honestly, 10 years had passed since the high school incident, so I thought everyone would have moved on. We weren't teenagers anymore, and I assumed she wouldn't act like one. Currently, all my guests, and of course Jacob and I, are at the hotel we selected as our wedding venue. It's a bit out of the city, and we've been here for 2 days. Most of our guests arrived the day before yesterday in the afternoon, and we hosted a welcome party for everyone who came from out of town. At the welcome party, I noticed Jennifer was quite sociable with everyone and seemed to be having a good time. She even took a bunch of pictures with me. So up until that point, I felt good about my decision to invite her, but that changed the next morning. In the middle of the night, my fiancé came to my room and showed me a letter Jennifer had sent to his room. Jacob and I are in separate rooms because my mom and his parents are quite superstitious and believe it's bad luck for the couple to stay in the same room before the wedding. Actually, her room was on a different floor, and it was around 1 a.m. when Jacob showed up at my door, so it was pretty late. The welcome party had lasted until midnight, but after that, everyone went back to their rooms. I was just about to go to bed when Jacob started knocking at my door. When I let him in, he handed me the letter. I immediately recognized Jennifer's handwriting. It's quite distinct, and I knew something was wrong. Jacob told me he had been getting ready for bed when, about 15 minutes earlier, a hotel staff member delivered the letter to his room. She said it had been sent by the lady in room 306, which was Jennifer's room. So, even though the letter wasn't signed, we knew it was from her. I guess she didn't count on the fact that Jacob and I have a healthy relationship, which was pretty foolish of her, considering we're about to get married. The letter literally started by saying she wanted this to remain a secret between her and Jacob. Now, onto the letter's contents. It was shocking, even by her standards. I knew she had hated me in the past, but I thought she would have grown out of it, especially since her behavior had seemed normal. In the letter, she detailed the animosity between us in the past. The only difference was that she had swapped our roles. She made it seem like I was the one who started hating her for no reason and went out of my way to bully her. She even brought up the high school incident and claimed I was the one who spread nasty rumors about her. She said that because I felt humiliated when I confronted her in public, I stopped speaking to her out of spite. But she didn't stop there. She made up a bunch of lies, saying that even after I stopped speaking to her, I didn't let her live in peace. According to her, whenever I came home from college, I flirted with her boyfriend, and eventually they broke up because of me. She claimed I traumatized her, and that I had been a complete nightmare to live and grow up with. The only reason she decided to attend this wedding, she said, was because she knew Jacob was a good man and deserved better. She said she couldn't let him ruin his life by marrying me because, while I seemed kind now, I'd reveal my true colors soon enough, and she didn't want that for him. What shocked me the most was that she said she'd be willing to run away with Jacob if he wanted. Even though she hadn't spent much time with him, she had started falling for him. She felt that the only reason the universe had brought us all together again was so she could meet Jacob. She ended the letter by saying she'd be waiting for him after the rehearsal dinner in the parking lot since she didn't want any guests to see her and they could discuss things there. The letter was pretty outrageous, and Jacob told me he came to me as soon as he finished reading it. He looked physically sick, and ironically, I had to console him. He began apologizing profusely because he had been the one who convinced me to invite her and leave the past behind. Let me clarify, I don't blame him for this. I think anyone in their right mind would want us to clear the air, especially now that we're adults. I'm almost 30, and I don't want to hold on to high school drama, but it's clear that Jennifer does. Jacob was stunned, but I was furious because she had pretended everything was fine and tried to take advantage of the fact that I had started to trust her again after so long. I guess even after a snake sheds its skin, it's still a disgusting snake, and that's the case with Jennifer. So I decided that history would repeat itself, and once again she'd be humiliated, this time by me. I told Jacob my plan, and he agreed. Honestly, he didn't even care because he was just disgusted and disturbed by how pathetic my sister was acting. It was really disappointing because Jacob has been my boyfriend for the past 4 years, and everyone knows how much I love him. I guess this was her way of trying to get back at me or something. Anyway, the plan Jacob and I came up with was relatively simple, and I'm sure some of you have already guessed what we did. After spending about 30 minutes with me in my room, Jacob went back to his and made a call to Jennifer's room. He told her he'd be willing to discuss this after the rehearsal dinner in the parking lot, as she suggested. He instructed her that at one point, he'd order a whiskey on the rocks, and that would be her signal to excuse herself, and he'd meet her 10 minutes later. So, last night, after everyone had been served dessert and everything, my fiancé ordered a whiskey on the rocks. Immediately, Jennifer excused herself to go to the ladies' room, so we knew our plan was working. But instead of going out, my fiancé and I got up and made an announcement about the letter and its contents. Needless to say, everyone was shocked, but we didn't have time for that. We told them that Jennifer was currently waiting for Jacob in the parking lot, and if anyone had any doubts, they could come with us and see for themselves. I'm pretty sure no one doubted us, but everyone followed us to the parking lot. When we finally found Jennifer, she was stunned for a couple of seconds, like a deer caught in headlights. Once she came to her senses, she tried to run away, but it was in vain. Everyone already knew the truth, and we had achieved what we set out to do. It was quite chaotic after that because no one knew what to do. I sent everyone back to their rooms, except for my mom and in-laws. With them, I went to Jennifer's room. I wasn't sure if she'd be there, but she was. Fortunately, we had to knock several times before she finally opened the door. Her face was all red and blotchy, and when she saw me standing outside, she tried to attack me. But Jacob pushed her back, and I told her that I wanted her gone immediately. She didn't even respond, she just went back inside, and we saw she had already started packing. So, I didn't even need to tell her to leave. My mom took it the hardest. She started having a meltdown in Jennifer's room, asking her why she had done something like this, as we were all convinced she didn't even like Jacob. She only wanted to cause drama against me. Jennifer didn't respond, she just packed her things as quickly as she could and left. After she was gone, there wasn't much more to discuss, so my in-laws went to sleep, but my mom stopped Jacob and me before we could leave. She told us she understood we were upset about what Jennifer had tried to do, but that didn't justify how we acted. Honestly, I was confused because, in my opinion, I hadn't done anything so terrible, definitely not compared to what Jennifer had tried to do. So, I asked my mom to explain, and she said that if I had an issue with what Jennifer had written in her letter, I should have handled it like an adult rather than doing what I did when I was a teenager and creating a spectacle. I should have confronted her in person and kicked her out without humiliating her like I did. When my mom said that, I got a bit upset and told her she should have seen this coming because she had always taken Jennifer's side, and even now, all she cared about was how Jennifer felt and the fact that her precious daughter had been humiliated, even though it was her own fault. But my mom argued with me and said she was willing to admit that what Jennifer did was horrible and that she shouldn't have pressured me to invite her. But that didn't mean I had the right to do whatever I wanted because I was dragging the family name through the mud. She said it was very juvenile of me to involve all the guests and that they might have found the situation awkward. So, somehow, I had also ruined my own wedding with this, as everyone would only talk about it instead of enjoying the event. However, I didn't care about that. I just wanted revenge on Jennifer, and I got it. So, I told my mom I didn't care what she thought, and Jacob and I went back to our room. Today, we had a break between the rehearsal dinner and the wedding day, and everyone was free to do whatever they wanted. So, I talked to my maid of honor and a couple of bridesmaids and asked if everyone was talking about what had happened the night before. They said people were definitely surprised and had been discussing it, but they would forget about it in time for the wedding. I asked for their honest opinion on whether I had taken things too far, and most of them said it was my choice how I wanted to handle it and that there's no such thing as going too far, especially when dealing with someone like my sister. However, my mom hasn't spoken to me since last night, and I feel strangely guilty about what I did. Maybe she was right. Maybe I shouldn't have taken matters into my own hands and humiliated her again. Now that I think about it, it was a somewhat juvenile plan, but I just wanted her to feel as bad as I did. Besides, it's not my fault she was stupid enough to write that letter to my fiancé in the first place. Anyway, this brings me to my question. Am I the bad one for humiliating my sister and kicking her out of my wedding after she tried to sabotage my relationship with my fiancé? Update 1. I'm getting married tomorrow morning, and I'm risking having dark circles by staying up so late at night. But I had to get this off my chest. This afternoon, I had a conversation with Jacob about what was going on with my mom, and there were also several comments saying what I did was a bit excessive. Many people agreed that after what Jennifer did, I had the right to act firmly against her, but it's not like I couldn't have handled the situation in a better way. Somehow, my mom was right in what she said. I probably didn't handle the situation in the best way, but that was my choice. Maybe I don't always have to be politically correct. Sometimes, I can do what I want without thinking about the consequences. But that doesn't mean I don't have to face the consequences. And in this case, the consequences meant I had to clear things up with my mom because she was upset. A few hours ago, Jacob and I went to her room. She seemed a bit upset, but as soon as she saw us, she hugged us and said she had actually been thinking about coming to us herself. Before we could say anything, she brought us into her room, sat us down, and said she wanted to apologize for her behavior last night. She acknowledged that she had only been thinking about things from her perspective, without even considering how I might have felt. Now that she'd had a day to think about it, she realized the letter's contents were outrageous and unacceptable. So, while she might not have handled the situation the way I did, it was my life, and I was free to do what I wanted. If I thought humiliating Jennifer would make me feel vindicated, it wasn't her place to tell me what to do. I'm glad she came to this conclusion on her own, but I also told her she was right and apologized for taking it out on her. I thought that would be the end of it, but my mom also said she was sorry for always siding with Jennifer when we were younger, because that was why Jennifer still believed she would support her no matter what. But she told me she had cut ties with Jennifer shortly after she left and planned not to talk to her again until Jennifer gave both of us a sincere apology. After that, Jacob, my mom, and I had a brief conversation about how excited we were for the following morning before heading back to our rooms. So I'm pretty happy I decided to follow the advice and talk to my mom. It was definitely worth it, and now I'm going to get married as a happy woman. Update 2. I married Jacob last week and really thought everything with my sister was over. I mean, she had already been humiliated and kicked out of the wedding, so there was literally no reason for her to come back and try to start drama with me again. But she keeps coming back for more. I don't understand why. This time, she made a Facebook post claiming the only reason she had suggested Jacob run away with her was because I was a terrible person, and she wanted to give him a chance at a better life. She thought she was doing the right thing and also mentioned that, apparently, Jacob had been giving her lots of signals every time they met. That's obviously a very blatant lie. I trust Jacob more than anyone, and I know for sure he would never do anything to break that trust. He's proven his loyalty to me more than once, so I don't understand why she keeps trying to make me question it. When she posted that, I couldn't see it because I had blocked her everywhere, so some family members had to send it to me. They also knew the truth since they had read that letter, and everyone had seen it was her handwriting. So they jumped to my defense as soon as she made that post, and everyone started tearing her apart in the comments. People kept sending me screenshots of how she was being attacked in the comments section. I didn't have to do anything. I could just sit back and watch the drama unfold. I guess she couldn't keep fighting with everyone anymore, so she deleted the post half an hour ago. Jacob and I couldn't stop laughing when we realized she had to take it down because no one was willing to believe her nonsense. It's sad because if she just apologized to us, she could restore her relationship with our mom, the only person who would still accept her. Instead, she's so stubborn that she wants to keep ruining her relationship with everyone in the family. Not only that, but she's also damaging her own reputation by doing these stupid things, because I'm pretty sure her coworkers and friends can also see these posts since they were public. She just can't stop embarrassing herself, and at this point, I'm not even angry with her anymore. I just feel sorry for her because I still don't know what exactly turned her into someone like this. Whatever it was, I just hope she gets over it soon because this kind of obsession with someone else isn't healthy. Update 3. After my last update, a lot of people in the comments suggested I talk to my mom to find out what really caused my sister to become the person she is. To be honest, I was quite curious to know because, as I mentioned, she had no problems with me until she was around 15. Something must have gone wrong at that point for her to start resenting me so intensely. I called my mom a couple of hours ago to ask her about it, and she said she doesn't have a very clear memory of it. However, a few years ago, she had a conversation with Jennifer, and Jennifer mentioned something about being tired of being constantly compared to me. The only problem is, honestly, I can't think of anyone in our family who compared her to me. We're not the kind of people who do that, and besides, we were pretty equal in most things. It's not like one of us was prettier or more attractive than the other, and even in terms of academics, we were on equal footing. But my mom told me that, apparently, when Jennifer was 15, she was dating a guy in my grade. He forced her to keep it a secret, and was the one constantly comparing her to me, presumably because he had a thing for me. I remember rejecting him several times, so I guess that led to some issues that I was never able to figure out since Jennifer never talked to me about the relationship she had with that guy. Then, there was that incident at school where I completely humiliated her, which didn't help improve things. Apparently, people made fun of her for several months afterward, and even the guy she was dating broke up with her after the incident. I didn't even know about this since I had already graduated. All these things piled up, and she began resenting me more than ever. I just wish she had talked to me about the guy who compared her to me. Maybe we could have worked things out back then, but now it's too late. Maybe one day we'll be able to clear the air, but for now, all I can do is feel sorry for her. Fortunately, Jacob and I are going on our honeymoon in a couple of days, so maybe that will help me take my mind off of this. Update 4. I just got back from my honeymoon, and I already have news for you. You can't say I don't care about you because here I am, with my half-unpacked suitcase still on the bed. Apparently, my mom talked to Jennifer while we were away. More specifically, Jennifer called her to apologize. But she didn't apologize to the right person. It wasn't my mom she needed to apologize to, it was us, and she didn't do that. Even my mom told her this and said it was the condition for fixing their relationship. Jennifer tried to justify herself by saying it was just a joke, and that no harm was done since I ended up getting married and Jacob didn't leave me. She even said she knew things would turn out that way because she made up the part about Jacob wanting to be with her. Honestly, I think I'm shocked. I never would have imagined it. I mean, no harm because it was all a lie? What about the fact that she caused a commotion in the middle of the night right during my wedding? Doesn't she see that as harm? But my mom stood firm and told her that unless she apologized to us, she wouldn't have a relationship with her anymore. So Jennifer got angry and said my mom was a bad mother because she had always favored me. She also said I was the golden child because they were always on my side. I guess her jealousy over her boyfriend when she was younger has clouded her judgment because honestly, if there was ever a golden child, it was her. At least to my mom. For my dad, not so much. But even now, my mom has had enough of her nonsense and gave her that ultimatum. My mom thinks she's only regretful now because friends and family have cut ties with her. I mean, she tried to lie publicly, and everyone caught on. So that's what happened while I was away. Obviously, she hasn't apologized to us, or at least the apologies haven't reached us. Maybe she sent them by carrier pigeon, and they're on their way. Update 5. Juicy news for those of you still following my story. I hope this won't be too long. I'll try to summarize as much as I can, but I can't leave out the details because they're part of the juiciness, so to speak. If I had to sum up this update, we had a face-to-face encounter with my sister. But don't worry, there was no violence, though a lot was said. She came to my house 2 days ago for what she considered an apology. I don't know if it was an apology per se, but she tried to make it seem like one. Someone knocked on the door, and since I was home alone, I went to see who it was. I have to admit that when I saw her standing at my door, I had some mixed thoughts about not opening and pretending no one was home. But at the same time, I thought she wasn't going to harm me physically. She never had before. And I was curious if this was the famous carrier pigeon bringing the apologies. So I opened the door. I stood there in the doorway to see what she had to say. I didn't let her in because she hadn't earned the right to step inside. The first thing she said, after a cold hello, was that she had come to apologize for what happened at the wedding. Basically, it was the same apology she gave my mom, but with the subject changed from mom to sister. I won't bore you by repeating it. You can read the apology in my previous update. But that wasn't the important part. It was the request she made after the apology, which I hadn't accepted yet at that point. Well, at no point did I really accept the apology. She wanted me to make some kind of public post making her look good, saying we had resolved our differences and were now going to build a happy future together, full of flowers and hopping bunnies. Well, she didn't say that last part, but it's what I imagined as she made the request. That's why I consider her apology insincere. She just saw that she was left alone and needed me to fix her reputation. She even said doing something like that would help her at work because many people had seen the post and responses, and there were rumors about her as a person. So I replied that I accepted her apology, though I'm not sure she caught the sarcasm, but that I wasn't going to make a post because I don't use social media anymore. Which is a lie because that same night I posted a picture of a delicious pizza on Instagram, but she's blocked so she can't see it directly. Also, technically, Reddit is a social network, so, well, I lied, I suppose. Then I went back inside and closed the door. I could see she was standing outside, looking surprised, and after a few seconds, she left. I don't know why she looked so surprised. I can't imagine a better scenario for her after what she did. She attacks me like she did when we were in school, and now she wants me to just forget it and do her a favor? Not going to happen. I guess our relationship is built on lies and revenge. I suppose when my baby is born someday, not pregnant yet, though after the honeymoon, who knows, she'll come back with another one of her pranks. But rest assured, she'll also face some revenge. And another update here.